Everybody. So this video, I hope you're ready to bring back a little bit of the nervous system. So there's a couple parts to this. Number one, just talking about how the heart rate will increase or decrease. But then second thing we're going to talk about is how does the nervous system interact with the heart to make sure it beats? Not only make sure that it beats, but that it beats at the correct time, at the correct pace. That is super important because you want your heartbeat to be consistent, you want it to be steady, but it also has to be perfect because when you are beating your heart, your atrium need to contract at the same time, but while they're contracting, the ventricles need to relax. And then vice versa. When your ventricles contract, your atrium needs to relax. So with that said, we're going to discuss how that works and what your body needs to do to make that happen. Let's kick it off here with the two major nervous regulations of the heart to increase and decrease heart rate. So, the cardio acceleratory center. Cardio acceleratory. How do you increase it? This happens in the medulla oblongata of the brain. So, what's going to happen is there is a sympathetic nerve, also known as a CAC region, and when this is stimulated, this is going to increase the rate and strength of your heartbeat. Again, this is a sympathetic pathway, fight or flight. You want to increase your heart rate so that you can have more oxygen, so you have more energy. More energy, you can do fight or flight. The opposite happens down here. So in the cardio inhibitory center, this also is in the medulla oblongata. This is going to be the parasympathetic pathway. So this is rest and digest. When this happens, we're going to decrease the rate and strength of the heartbeat. Again, just think about sympathetic and parasympathetic pathways. If it's fight or flight, you're going to be doing more. Therefore, if you're using more energy, like your muscles and your brain and your lungs and everything else in your body to move so you can fight or flight, you need more oxygen, which means you need more blood to flow, which means you increase heart rate. Parasympathetic, rest and digest, is the opposite. And here is an example of where these nerves are connected to in the medulla. Now we're going to discuss how the heart beats. All right, so what is the conduction pathway of the heartbeat? There's two parts here. One, I'm just going to read through it, and then two, I'm going to use an image to show you everything we're going to be talking about. So there are multiple steps to making sure we have a proper heartbeat. The very first thing to talk about is the fact that we need to have a rhythm generator, something that is going to make sure that the rhythm is exactly the same. We want to keep that the same. We also call this the pacemaker of the heart. It's going to keep the pace. So, the sinoatrial node, or the SA node, is going to be located, atrial, in the atrium. So this is located posterior wall of the right. This is specifically in the right atrium. All right, this is very important. It's below the superior vena cava, so it's in the upper right-hand side of the right atrium. And it is going to stimulate itself, which is a little bit different. So the sinoatrial node, because it is this pacemaker, it determines when the heartbeat starts. So everything starts here with the sinoatrial node. It kicks off, it tells itself, let's go. And it has the pace. So if you could hear this noise in the background, right, it's the one doing that. It kicks off the pace for the heart. It keeps it going. It tells both atria to contract. So it's not just in one. So it's going to connect to the left atria as well. And through the AV node, the atrioventricular node. We're going to see that in the next slide. All right. So this is the sinoatrial node, or the SA node. It is number one. Now, it works with the AV node, like I said in the last slide. The AV node is the atrioventricular node, which means atrioventricular. It's between the atrium and the ventricles. So this is what's going to allow for your ventricles to know when to contract as well. So this is going to be important. So once the SA node begins sending the signal, it is going to then go to the AV node, which is on the right floor of the right atrium. So this is the bottom right side of the right atrium. It is going to get the next signal, and it's going to tell the ventricles, it's going to send a signal to the ventricles so they can start to contract. However, there's a slight delay. That is important because when the atrium contracts, the ventricle will relax. When the ventricle contracts, the atrium relaxes. So they need to be opposites. So it's important. This is why we have the SA and AV nodes, to make sure they contract slightly at different times. From here, the action potential is going to go to this thing called the AV bundle. This is a bundle of nerves that sends that signal through to the ventricles. Again, the AV node is going to be telling it when to contract. So SA goes, and it tells the AV to go next. When we get to the AV bundle, this is going to be through the interventricular septum to the left and right bundle branches of the heart. All right, so this is how it tells both ventricles on each side to contract. We also call this the bundle of His, which you may see. These bundle branches are going to carry action potentials. Remember action potentials? In other words, these are the nerves sending the signal to contract. Specifically to these very last thing here, the Purkinje fibers. That's the name of those fibers. These are going to be found in the myocardium of the ventricles and do the actual contraction. So, to sum it up, let's start at the top. We have the AV node. I'm sorry. We have the SA node. We have the SA node at the top. SA node triggers itself to start. It's going to send signals to the left and right atrium to contract. As that contraction occurs, it's going to also send signals to the AV node. The AV node now begins sending its signals, specifically down the AV bundle, also known as the bundle of His. So this is going to go down this interventricular septum. I'll tell you what that means in a second if you're unsure. Once these blue lines here, right, once the signal comes down the AV nodes, they will split off and into the muscle of the heart. And these nerves are specifically called the Purkinje fibers. When the Purkinje fibers receive that stimulation, they will contract the ventricles. And that is how a heartbeat works. If you're unsure what the interventricular septum is, inter means between. So inter is between the ventricles. So this is the section of muscle. I'm going to color it in now, and I'll do yellow. This is the section of muscle in between the two ventricles that divide them. Septum is a term for something in between two areas. So the septum of the heart separates the right and left side of the heart. If you have any questions on any of the cardiac conduction, please let me know.